I did. Yeah, I thought it was going to
So are
be.
you packed?
Nope.
Oh,
I have time tomorrow.
there you go.
I do. All right, being 11 o'clock, I'll call the Board of Sewer Commissioners November 4th, 2025 meeting to order. This is a virtual only meeting, and Bourne TV is televising or recording this meeting. I don't see anyone else on, so I don't believe anybody else is recording. So we can forego the public comment on non-agenda items and move straight to agenda item 2, which is the discussion and possible vote on the wastewater treatment facility recommissioning plan.
So
Matt?
thank you. So after the last meeting, you asked me to take a deeper dive into the recommissioning plan and kind of get a second opinion on it. I was not able to get a written second opinion, but I spoke to an engineer, a grade 7 operator, and electrician about all the different things on this recommissioning plan. Um, so, and I also had a good meeting with Weston and Sampson. We discussed the costs and some of the concerns the town had, especially with the design. So I apologize for the late email with the information, but I was still meeting with Weston and Sampson today following up, so I apologize for that. Um, so the cleaning is all complete. Um, so at this point they sent us a schedule if we were to move forward, how they would go about processing this and doing this. So that was the second page. I just wanted to no matter what we do, after we reach out to Eversource, it'll be about a month for them to do all their stuff before we really start recommissioning the plant. So that was just one thing that I wanted to point out in the schedule. So that being said, when I spoke to the electrician, he did agree that what we're doing with Eversource and trying to get a conditioner or working with them to fix the power going in is the first step. And once we confirm that power is working correctly, um, that will help us move forward, making sure all the rest of the equipment is working. So there's the operation testing is part of this policy. It's farther down the list on the spreadsheet I made you, the recommissioning spreadsheet. But what that'll do is test all the pieces of equipment and the voltage and the amps. And that's important so that we know if any of the pieces of equipment are causing a surging within the building also after we fix the power coming in. So that's something that I think we need to keep in this plan if we decide to move forward. Um, the compressor service and repairs, even if we, I think Peter just joined. Even if we don't move forward with the recommissioning process, we're going to move forward with the compressor repairs because that's part of the treatment plant that we feel as though should be under DPW facilities anyway to maintain. So we're going to fix those compressors and make them functionally run correctly. Um, the equipment repair and replacement. So we talked about the parts that were involved in that. I believe those are all parts that are needed. I think that when I spoke with the operators and the engineers, they agreed. There was some questions of why there wasn't the PVC enclosures weren't part of the original design. But I don't. If we wanted to push back on that, I think we could. But I also think that it may not have. I don't think it's part of a lot of designs that I've seen. I don't think it's something that we. I think it's important to add, and if we wanted to push back, we could. Um, So I do agree, as before, that the cost of $15,000 for those replacement parts are merited, and it'll help the plant going forward. Um, the trash tank, I think, is an interesting conversation. In speaking with a few people, and also kind of where I've been thinking about this, that's one of the substantial problems we have with the plant because of its improper design. It's doing the opposite of what it's supposed to do. Instead of stopping the trash and grease from going in by having the flow in the middle of the tank, it's allowing it all to go over and get into the grit screens. So this has been missed by multiple people. Like I said at the last meeting, I missed it when we rebuilt the trash wall tank. But I do think the trash tank was actually part of the original police station. It wasn't part of the the plant built. It was just something that was going to be utilized as a trash tank. I don't know, and I haven't been able to dig up at this time. I can keep looking if there was any correspondence between the police station design and the wastewater treatment facility design on what that tank was supposed to be built for. Um, do you want?
Can I ask a question,
Go ahead, MJ.
Anne Marie? Yeah, so when you talk about that, is this trash, trap, baffle, wall modification 7,000? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, that's correct.
So drain, clean, and isolate the trash trap.
Yep.
Core multiple penetrations of the baffle wall per the direction, and patch and seal the baffle wall. So that's $7,000. I mean, I most of the coordination between the police facility and the wastewater was on the fields. Like there was a lot of discussion because the septic fields were bid as part of the police facility, and then the other thing that was part of that were the monitoring wells, because that was required for the groundwater discharge permit. So those were the things that were really discussed a lot. So I don't know, I don't recall too much discussion about how the trash, this was going to be any modifications that were going to be required
Okay.
post changeover. So that's just my recollection. But
Okay.
I see that in the scheme of things, it's not a huge expense.
Um, so I just, I think that's something that it needs to get done, whether we do it now or we want to push back on Weston. And I think we can push back with Weston and Sampson a few of these things, but I think the goal, the seating, that's going to be a cost. That's kind of we've done that a few times. That's Weston and Sampson isn't making money off that. That's just them hauling like bacteria from another plant, like sludge from another plant to put into the tank and mix liquor. Um, the operation testing, we talked about that. I think that's important if we go through this part with the Eversource. And the big thing that I kind of really had a long discussion with Weston and Sampson about was the startup costs, where they wanted to charge $18,000. When we talked about it, I explained to them I don't think we should have to pay twice for what they're already there doing. So I did talk to them about reducing that, and they reduced it by $7,800, which is the cost of what it costs for us to have a person at that plant for the month anyway. There will be additional staff from Weston and Sampson on site doing that, and there's also some reporting that we'll receive afterwards, and um, and some sludge removal part of that task too out of the EQ tank. So those have additional costs. Um, the discussion to reduce it down to 10,400. I'm okay with that moving forward if the board is okay with that. Um, so basically, after the meeting, like I believe all this work is merited to get it back on track. Um, I think a couple of the big things that I kind of wanted to just kind of say is DPW can't come back to you ever again and say we need to do this again. So whatever we do now, DPW is going to have be much more. We're going to really have a hand in this and making sure we're seeing what's going on during this whole process. Not only to make sure we're paying appropriately, but also just to make sure that the sewer staff in the future knows what goes into this recommissioning, so that possibly we can see some things to not let this happen again. Following the recommissioning, we're going to come up with a plan internally to really monitor the O&M of the plant, because some of these issues, Weston Sampson is there for 4 hours, 5 days a week. we can't, the plant can't run on 4 hours, 5 days a week. They can't do the PM. They can't, it's not, if they go in and do all their numbers and all their inspections, that's 2 to 3 hours. And then if they have one small problem, that next hour is gone. So there's really no time to do PM. So just to make sure in the next RFP, we kind of encapsulate that we want more PM done. But also between, if we decide to do the recommissioning, between the time we do this and the time either there's the same operator, new operator, we've established what we need this to be, what we need this operational plan to be, so that we're not here again. Um, I think you've heard this from me a couple times. You've heard this from people before. We can't, that we've had these issues. We can't keep coming back to the board like this. It's not good for us. It's not good for you. We have to put an end to this. But I do think we also need to do this work to get to that point.
Any comments or questions for Matt about the recommendations, the current recommendations of $57,800 for their recommissioning? We certainly appreciate, Matt, your work and attention to this. It's been a very frustrating, consistently, like you said, coming back to the board with issue after issue after issue. And it's certainly understandable that that this has been thought out thoroughly, and you've had tons of conversation with Weston and Sampson and other, experts in the field to be able to, delineate exactly what the needs are, but at the same time, looking at the future and coming up with a plan. So, I think those are two key elements to perhaps, hopefully, fingers crossed, getting this plan on track and making it, more sustainable for the town. Because at some point, we won't have that luxury of just taking it offline. And it should be online. It should be working. It should be working without, constantly coming back to the table and having to figure out once again, what is going wrong. So, yeah, I think there's a two-step process, getting the work done needed right now so we can get it up and running, and then a plan moving forward with respects to, the PM piece of it and that monitoring piece of it. And, at the same time, if we foresee that, the issues are still happening, then we need to certainly take a look at the engineering of this system. Go ahead, MJ.
Matt, I appreciate all the work that you did. Could you just highlight what the differences are between the $89,000 proposal from Weston Sampson and 57,000? Like, what are we not including? Like, you obviously there was a reduction in the startup. What else is like different? It's hard for me to flip back and forth. I didn't really get it.
So
Thank you,
the
MJ. I was going to ask that same question, so I appreciate you asking it.
The troubleshooting of the electrical supply, that's been completed. There are no more costs associated with that. There was some work done previously, and talking with them, that's completed. We've already paid for that, and that's done. And then the other thing was with the compressor repair, they had it as $8,500 in there. If we take that on individually as the town, it'll only be $5,900. So the biggest reduction was the startup costs, and us taking that APCO professor was a few $1,000s off also.
Can I ask a follow-up? So what is the timing on this? Do we need to wait until the electrical, whatever fixing the electrical thing, does that all have to happen first before we do any of this? Or are you going forward with some of it and then not with the other
So
until
yes,
after?
to start the plant back up, we need to wait for electrical work to be done. But we can do the trash tank. We can inspect the membrane filters. There are some things we can do within that schedule ahead of time. But the real, so the compressors, the trash tank, and the membranes can all be done prior to startup, and some of the repair equipment can also be done.
Okay.
They have a month gap in there. They have it, kind of starts around December 1st, November 4th in their schedule. I think, this is just a very estimated schedule they gave me, but, a lot of that stuff can be done before we actually start up.
And how are we paying for this?
I believe the operating budget will sustain this. It'll come out of the Western Sampson the contracted ops for the treatment plant, and then also we have the capital line items for replacement parts. A lot of the replacement parts will be able to come out of that. As we get towards the end of the year, if we see something's close, we may ask for reserve fund transfer. But at this time, I think the operating budget will be able to withstand this. We haven't had sludge costs we haven't
You're
had.
looking for approval of the 57,800 for the recommissioning as presented. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, I think just so that we're all on the same page going forward.
Is that a motion, MJ?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the $57,800 for recommissioning the wastewater treatment plant per the presentation on 11/4/2025.
I'll second.
Thank you. So we have a motion by MJ and a second by Melissa to approve the $57,800 for the recommissioning of the wastewater treatment plant as presented on November 4th. Roll call vote. Jean,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Mary Jane,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes. 500. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you,
I'll
Matt.
entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
So that Jean and Melissa.
Yes.
Okay, roll call vote. Jean,
Yes.
Melissa,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
MJ,
yes.
and the chair votes yes. Meeting
Thanks
is
much,
adjourned.
Matt. I appreciate all the
Thank
work
you,
that went
Matt.
into this.
Thank you very
It was
much.
really
Thank
good.
Good job. Thanks.
See you soon.
you.